There we go. Okay, that's good. Hi, my name's Annabel. I have to look for the cues to see my name. I am the... Okay, let's start that again. It's Sickle Cell September, and so here today I have with me...
I'm Gary A. Swaby.
And he's come and he has Sickle Cell Anemia, so we're going to be discussing Sickle Cell Anemia. I'm Annabel, founder of Melanin Gamers, so let's just give that spiel. Melanin Gamers is a gaming community that promotes diversity and inclusion in the video games industry, with a special focus on content creators. I think I memorized that correctly. But so today we're doing sickle cell because sickle cell affects a lot of people of colour, and obviously Melanin Gamers is a place where it promotes a lot of people of colour. So what is sickle cell? I'm going to read what sickle cell is. I know what sickle cell is because I have sickle cell anemia, but I want to give you the actual, what's in the dictionary or the NHS website. Sickle cell disease. Some people say sickle cell anemia or sickle cell disease. I prefer to say sickle cell anemia because I feel like the word disease is really harsh.
Yeah, I don't like the word either. I prefer to say anemia.
Yeah,
also.
And it's also accurate. It's sickle cell anemia because there's sickle cell trait. So
yeah.
And I feel like disease is like, oof, you're diseased. Yeah. I know it's like a disease, but I just don't like that word very much. Anyway, sickle cell, or say anemia, is the name for a group of inherited health conditions that affects the red blood cells. The most serious type of this is called sickle cell anemia. So some people with sickle cell trait do have some of the symptoms or the conditions, I would say, that people with the full-blown disease that sickle cell anemia have. So how it is, it's their sickle cell trait, and you can just carry that. Some people can have sickle cell trait and not know that they have it, and they're just perfectly fine and they go about their lives forever and they're healthy. But some people with sickle cell trait do get sick a bit, or when they're sick they'll be a bit worse than usual. But they're carriers, and so you have to have someone who's a carrier and another person who's a carrier, and then their child will have a 1 in 4 chance of getting the full-blown disease. So when they do that chart thing where they have one of their children two of their children will have sickle cell trait, the chances, and one of their children won't have anything at all. They'll be AA. So AS is when you have sickle cell trait, and SS is when you have sickle cell anemia. That's the full-blown disease. So people with sickle cell disease, they are usually from a background where it's warmer, like tropical climates, because sickle cell came from malaria. That's a little bit of history. Let's do a history lesson right now. So sickle cell anemia is a mutation. Technically, sickle cell trait is a mutation, and then sickle cell anemia spawned from that. So basically, malaria is, everyone knows malaria, you get that from mosquitoes, and when the cell mutated, and those cells, the malaria virus couldn't attach to it properly. So that's where sickle cell trait came from. It was like a spontaneous mutation from the body, and people with the trait weren't getting malaria. So it was like, oh my god, the body has saved us from this really bad disease. Unfortunately, it's like sickle cell anemia came about of that, because the people who had sickle cell trait would obviously get together, then they would have a child that had sickle cell anemia. So the body mutated to save itself from malaria, but then unfortunately it went too far.
So we're like the X-Men, basically.
We are the X-Men. We're mutants. So, yeah. I love that. That's actually one of the reasons why I absolutely love the X-Men, is because when I was like, they're mutants like me, I'm a mutant as well. And it was actually the first time I thought of like a mutation as a good thing, because it was like, that's why also I relate to Rogue, the character, because she has a mutation that is not always helpful. Her power isn't always something that she likes or is good, So it's kind of why I really relate to her when I was a child. A lot. And that X-Men will always have a special place in my heart. Okay.
Likewise.
X-Men are the best. Okay, so people with sickle cell, the reason why it's called sickle cell, because the cells are actually shaped like sickles. So they're like banana shaped. So they're sickled cells. So that's where it came from. It's a lifelong and inherited condition. You can't catch it, people. Okay, you have to be born with it. So that's when we say inherited. So when some doctors ask you, when did you get this? And you're just like, wow, okay, you're not treating me. Can I get someone else? That's immediately my reaction when they ask me, when did you catch this?
I'm surprised that's happened. Like, doctors have actually said that.
Like, and I'm just like, okay, can I get another doctor, please? Because you know nothing. You're gonna kill me. But okay, so it's a lifelong condition. Treatment can help, but we'll get on to the different types of treatment that they offer. There is no cure, yeah? I mean, some people get there is a cure per se in, you can get a bone marrow transplant, but that's, I wouldn't call that a cure because first of all, not everyone can get it. Second of all, if it doesn't work, you die. So literally it works or you're dead. There is no middle ground. You can't just say, actually, no, I don't really want this cure anymore. I just want to, take a step, bow out. You can't bow out. You're going to die. You're either going all the way or you're dying. And if it doesn't work, you die. So that's why people don't call it a cure, even though there is a cure, because it's not available to everyone. Some people don't want to, it's like a flip of a coin. So it's too risky. And some people, it is very painful. We're going to get onto that, Star Fox, and welcome to the stream. Sickle cell is painful, but those are the main, I was getting onto that. The main symptoms of sickle cell, I don't know why I'm reading this, but I'm trying to be professional, but it's painful. A lot of painful vascular necrosis crisis. That's the full official name for it, but we call it a sickle cell crisis or just a crisis. And it's it can range in severity as to how bad it is. Sometimes it's like a little bit of pain in your wrist or your back or like your joints, because the reason why these sickle cell crisis happens is when the sickle cells get trapped in your tiny veins, and then that's when the pain happens. It's like if you've ever trapped your hand in a door, or your finger somewhere, and you've just and it's that tiny, that pulsating pain. That's what I can liken it to, almost like that pulsating pain, but magnified by 1,000, 20,000. The bone marrow transplant is too. The bone marrow transplant is problematic because it doesn't work all the time. Actually, if it works 50-50, either it works or you're dead. So that's why it's not ideal for everyone to just get, because some people don't want to take those chances. And if you're kind of living with your disease and it's okay, then you don't want to take the chance of it not working, But yeah, so when the sickles get trapped and it causes a lot of pain, and that's what a crisis. And this crisis can lead to other things. Your organs won't have oxygen, because obviously if there's a blockage, it's almost like a small clot. Your organs aren't getting enough blood, and you can have organ failure. You can have a stroke. I mean, it can range in severity where it gets really bad and you can die.
And we've both had blood clots in our lungs, right?
Yeah.
I think you had one too, right?
I had two.
Yeah.
I had two blood clots, one in each lung.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. that can kill you. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can kill you. This can kill you. That can kill you. Everything can kill you. But that's very morbid. But so the reason why it's also called anemia is when you don't have enough energy and stuff, is because of the way the red blood cells are shaped. Because they can't carry enough oxygen, so we get more tired easily because of that. So the more sickles that you have in your body, the less oxygen you have, the less energy that you have as well. And sickles only last about, a normal red blood cell that's round lasts 90 days. And when a red blood cell dies, there's a yellowy deposit called bilirubin, and that's yellow in color. So that takes 90 days to go around your body, and then it dies. But because sickled cells only last 10 days. Only last for 10 days. So that yellowy deposit, it occurs more often. Hence why a lot of people with sickle cell have jaundiced eyes, because that yellowy deposit will show up in your skin. So if we're lucky we're brown, because it's all over our skin that the yellowy deposit is happening. But because it's only the white parts of our body that you can see, as you can see, my eyes are more yellow because that's why I need to drink more water. But I have more sickles in my blood, and they're dying quicker, faster, and that yellowy deposit goes all over your, in your body. So that's bilirubin that happens with. It's happening to everyone. It's just you can see it more because of our cells are dying faster. And because they're dying faster, it also takes a lot of energy for the body to produce more. No energy. Can cause tiredness. Some people also experience other problems such as delayed growth, strokes, and lung problems, which is also another thing with sickle cell. Blood is the body's fuel. When you don't get enough fuel, it affects everything about your body. So that's also why. 1 in 4 chance. So yeah, I've basically taken you through everything, the facts about what sickle cell is. So now I'm going to go on to Gary. He's going to give us how it is for him having sickle cell anemia. So we're going to go on to the first question.
Okay.
When did you find out that you had sickle cell, and how did you find out?
Okay, so I can't remember this whole story because I was a baby pretty much. But my parents found out around like when I was like 6 months old, and I guess, you know, it was because I was crying a lot and I was very agitated. So of course they ended up bringing me to the doctor, and that's when they, you know, did the tests and diagnosed me with it. But prior to that, my parents didn't actually know that they both had the sickle cell trait because they both came from Jamaica originally, and you know, in countries like that, they don't really test, you know, appropriately. They don't test everyone for these things, so they had no idea they had the sickle cell carrier gene. So yeah, when they got together, obviously they didn't know. And I have an older brother, and luckily he didn't actually get sickle cell anemia, but I got the full blown thing. So yeah, it was around 6 months old, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
And how has sickle cell affected? This is a big question. How has sickle cell affected you? I did want to go on to the fact that testing is something that back in the day, I suppose people didn't really get done because they didn't know enough about it. It wasn't just like my parents didn't know either, and my dad came from Ghana, but my mum was born here, and testing for sickle cell trait is just not something that they did. I mean, nowadays they're doing it much more, but then, like most countries, they weren't testing it anyway at all. Like it was just, oh, you have this, and they just didn't know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
How has sickle cell affected you growing up?
So looking back, it had a big effect, and I didn't realize it until later, but you know, I didn't realize it was the sickle cell that was causing a lot of like my issues and my mental issues and stuff until like later on, and I looked back retrospectively. But you know, in school there was like all kinds of different ways that it affected me. Like in high school in particular, like I would see that, you know, all my friends, all the other like boys and stuff, like they were growing, like their body was growing, they were starting to look more like men, they were, you know, developing and stuff, and I wasn't developing at the same rate. Like I still looked like a little boy kind of thing. So like that was like the first thing I remembered, and then also it affected my education a lot because I was sick all the time and going in and out of hospital, so I missed a lot of like the curriculum and, you know, a lot of the important subjects. And yeah, I think that really hurt my education growing up, and I think I learned the most in my college and university years, because I don't think I really benefited from the school years as well as I should have.
Okay, so going back to that, like at the time though, did you think this is sickle cell's fault, or did you just think this is just how I am?
Yeah, like it was just, this is how I am. I think when you're that young, you tend to not overthink. Like you're just kind of always in the moment, and I knew that, you know, it was because I was sick and I felt pain and stuff, but I wasn't thinking of the broader picture of how this affected my future and how much of an impact it had on my overall life. Like I was just, you know, I was just in that moment. I was thinking how it affected me in that moment, kind of thing. But yeah, it had a big impact. And yeah, I definitely wasn't the brightest boy back then because of it. But I mean, when you're suffering with, you know, a chronic illness, I guess it's more important that you're healthy than, you know, keeping up with your studies and everything. And I mean, with schools, like that's another thing, because there were issues I had with the schools where teachers wouldn't believe me when I was sick and things like that, you know, and that can kind of hurt as well.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God, I know.
to know that people don't believe you when you're suffering and stuff. But there were times when the school did try to help, and they had like teachers come to my house to help me keep up and things like that. So, you know, there's good and bad.
That's true. That brings me on to my next question, actually, about not being believed. That's something that's a really big thing in all invisible illnesses. When something is invisible, you can't see it. You have to tell people this is why I'm sick, that sort of thing. And why do you think there's stigma attached with sickle cell in particular? There's a lot of stigma attached to it for some strange reason. Yeah, I mean, I know the reason, but why do you think so? Now
this gets very deep, but I don't know. I think it's like a misconception people have of, you know, the types of people with sickle cell. I guess, you know, it's very racial as well. Because, you know, one of my recent jobs I had from like 2015, like the boss just gave me hassle all the time. Like he was acting like he didn't believe a word I was saying about being sick and, you know, needing time off. And even when I ended up in the hospital, he was pressuring me for like sick notes, letters and stuff while I was in the hospital. Like as if he, you know, he didn't believe that I was really sick. So that happens a lot throughout your life if you have sickle cell. Like you're going to get people not believing you or thinking that you're not as sick as you say you are. And it could even come from people close to you, like, you know, friends or family or whatever. Like, you know, they might think you're just, you're kind of just, you know, making
lazy
it up, or
as well.
yeah, like you're lazy, or, you know, you're just kind of talking it up like you're not really as bad as you say you are and stuff. But people don't know how much it affects you. And the thing is with sickle cell as well, it's like you get so used to living with it. And, you know, because I get aches and pains every day, but I'm so used to it now that I just keep on going regardless. Like I've learned how to deal with it and live with the pain and, you know, just continue to push through it kind of thing. So people will look at you and think you're perfectly fine and that nothing is wrong with you, but they really don't know how much pain you're in or, you know, how much you're suffering. And that's unfortunate, but yeah, it's something you kind of learn to normalize, and it's sad that you have to normalize the fact that people might not believe you. But
I definitely think that's really true in terms of people not believing in you, and just also getting used to the fact that you're sick. Which actually I have another question, but I want to like deviate from that with in regards to like the mental health side of things, where I wasn't like offered a therapist until like things got really bad, and I think that not enough is placed on mental health, and I just want to know your views on that in regards to suicide.
Yeah, that's very true, because of course like the world has become very mental health focused now, but like even before it was like the world was so mental health centric, I've been having mental health issues like way before like people were bringing
Even
attention to
talking about
it. Like our whole life we've been like dealing with that just from having this sickness. So and it's like now if you talk about your mental health issues, like if you and I were to, you know, go on Twitter or Vent or whatever, like people would act like, you know, it's us participating in like jumping on the bandwagon basically for mental health, like when no, this is something that we've pretty much been living with. Like this is always affected us, because, you know, we've had to go through school with people not believing us and us being different from everyone else, and, you know, so that kind of shapes how you think. Like it has a big impact on your mind state. And I actually didn't try therapy for a long time because, you know, being a guy as well, I thought like, you know, I was super macho, I didn't need it. like you know, I was trying to be tough and like, you know, act like I didn't need it or whatever. But I think after having so much trauma your whole life, you really do need to seek some sort of therapy. And, you know...
they really should have offered it from when we were younger. Like, it's only when you get really bad that, oh, actually, do you need to see someone? Like, back then. Now, I think nowadays there's so much, like, oh, immediately they need to, you know, just get them in, like, at Hammersmith, the hospital that I'm a patient at, they now just offer it routinely.
Oh, that's good.
Not just when you're like really low or you're suicidal, they just offer it. And I think that's really, really important. Like, it's just when you go to hospital, it's about fixing your body, like make sure your body is fixed, but your mind is the most important thing, you know. And it's just like they're just like, oh, here, medicine, oh, you're fine, okay, go.
Because there was a time in my life where I was feeling kind of like suicidal, like I'm not meant to be here, like kind of thing, and I'm just here to suffer. And I really, really wanted to like find someone to talk to, but I had trouble because my hospital didn't really offer anything like that. And, you know, I remember when I was going to see my consultant, I was like battling with myself, like, should I ask if there's anyone I can talk to, or should I just tough it out? And I ended up like not asking for help or anything. But yeah, it's very dangerous, like, because if you go around, you know, if you walk around thinking things like that, like, you know, I'm not supposed to be here and stuff,
those are
who knows
thoughts.
where that can lead to, you know. So yeah, it's definitely something that should be offered to you at a young age as well.
Yeah,
I think
literally, they need to catch that first. And yeah, I see your comment, Bellamy. Thanks for the host as well. It is important that people talk about sickle cell anemia. It's just important just to get the message out there, because some people, it's ignorance, which is, I mean, I have a problem with people saying, but they don't know, so they can't help with something they don't know about. And so just talking about it, raising awareness for it, I think is very important, especially in regards to the mental health side, because it's something that, like, dealing with a chronic illness your entire life, you're going to have this forever. It's not something, oh, I broke my leg, I'll be out for 6 months, and, you know, within a year I'm fine and I'm back to normal again. It's like, I'm in a hospital, I'm fine. I'm in a hospital, I'm fine. I'm in a hospital. Like, it's forever. And it's that forever thing that can get to your mind where this is going to be for the rest of my life, I'm going to be having to come back to hospital. And that's those, like, thoughts in your head when you, especially when you're young, it's like, do I want to be suffering forever? I don't think I do. And you just were like, you know what, it's better if I die. And those sort of thoughts are really dangerous. And I think just letting people know that there's someone they can talk to, like support groups and stuff, other people who have sickle cell as well, I think that is really key. And they do that at our hospital, and that's how I found alkaline water. But that's something that helps me through someone else who had sickle cell and their alternative things, because it's at the hospital, they just sort of like, obviously you're really sick and your body is like really weak, and so the doctors just want to heal your body. And obviously they should do that, they need to do that, because or you're going to die. But it's like the afterwards, you know, the aftercare needs to be better, I think. And my next question is, what does having sickle cell mean to you?
That's a very good question. What does it mean to me? So it means, you know, having to suffer, unfortunately, but what that does is it makes you a stronger person, and then, you know, that allows you to be there for other people. You know, I was actually listening to a Dame Dash interview recently, and he said there was like this quote. He said, well, it was actually like something he said in normal conversation, but I wrote it down as like a quote.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm trying to remember it verbatim, but he said, people who suffer through pain are there to help others who, you know, who can't cope when they're going through things, you know, and that's paraphrasing. He said it in a much better way than that, but, you know, it's very true, because I have a lot of people who, you know, they go through things, and I don't know what it is that makes them come to me for help, or, you know, to talk to and stuff, but they do end up, you know, coming to me and for help and guidance and things like that. And people seem to think I'm like a very strong person, even though I don't think I am, because, you know, my mind is like running at, you know, 100 miles per hour all the time, like, you know, with worries and anxieties and things like that. But I guess because you have sickle cell, you kind of learn to hide that more, and just like keep your emotions and your feelings in check. Like you can hide it better, because we're used to keeping things, you know, internal, like inside of us. So because that's where all the pain is, inside of us. So, you know,
okay.
So I think that's what it means.
How has sickle cell negatively impacted your life?
Many ways. I mean, you know, there's been times where I'm supposed to do things, and, you know, spontaneously I just end up sick, and it, you know, it might ruin the situation or have an impact. There's been times where I was supposed to, you know, have like a driving test or something, and then like I end up sick, and then I don't get to do that, and then that gets delayed further. It could be like tests or going to see a long-time friend or something. So yeah, like just having an illness that's very unpredictable, and that can affect you at any moment, anytime, and can just kind of derail your life. Like your whole schedule and everything could just be thrown off course at any time. And a lot of people don't understand that. So
it's difficult, I think, when you try and explain to someone, like, you can be healthy and fine one moment, and literally the next moment you can be on the floor. And I don't know, people can't, I think, rationalize that in their minds, where it's like, but you look fine. And you're just like, oh my gosh. Like, looking fine and being fine, I think, are two very separate things. And I think that's one of the things with sickle cell. It's hard to explain that to people, where you can just be like, oh, I look like this, I'm fine. but then in the next moment I can still look like this but not be fine. And that's the thing where they want to see you, like, I don't know, shaking on the floor or something. Like, okay, now you look sick. You can just be sat here and, like, I'm in so much pain. But you won't know because...
Yeah, and that's the twisted thing as well. Because sometimes I feel like I have to put on an act so people can see how much pain. Because obviously, like I said before, we're so used to dealing with the pain and feeling it that, you know, we've learned to, like, kind of cope. Like, so we can wear it kind of thing, but, like, people, it's like people need to visibly see you, like, in pain, suffering.
They do.
Like, before they understand. So, yeah, it's like sometimes I feel like I have to put it on, even though I don't want to. Cause, you know. And another way it negatively impacts me is I feel like it's made me very reserved as a person. Like, I'm super introverted, and I think that's because I feel like I can't trust everyone, or not everyone will understand me, so I kind of, like, keep myself to myself a lot, and I feel like that kind of holds me back from doing a lot of things that I could have done, you know, in my life, kind of thing. So that's another way it impacts me.
It's made me reserved as well. I think that's Bellamy, literally one moment you can be fine. Like, I was rollerblading. There was a time when I was just rollerblading and I was fine.
English
like English Miguel. One moment I was fine, the next moment it's just like, and it can even surprise you, where you're just like, oh wow, I'm feeling so sick all of a sudden, and it's just like, oh, but you can't even explain to other people, but you were fine just a second ago. I'm like, yeah, I know I was, but so it's like, that's why you also keep your friend circle closer, because it's like, oh, there's a new person, I'm gonna have to explain to them this, I have to explain to them that, and it's just like, do I want to go through all of that bother? Because will they even believe me? It'll take time for them to believe me, and all of this stuff. I remember when my manager first saw me in hospital, she was like, oh my gosh, she started crying, and she was like, you're gonna die. I was like, I tried to tell you that I get sick sometimes, but I was like, I think she kind of believed me, but it's different when you, like, tell them first, when they actually see it, and they're just like, oh wow. But I mean, I was hooked up to a ventilator, so I was actually very sick that time. But it was very different, because, like, when she sees me at work and I'm fine, from when, like, then it was really drastically how you can deteriorate really, really quickly when you have sickle cell. It's just like, you can be fine, and then just, like, you're in ICU, they're calling your parents, are you going to survive the night? That kind of thing. And it's crazy how, like, quickly it can go.
Yeah, it escalates very quickly.
Yeah, it escalates really quick. Thank you for the follow.
The mixtape is dropping tomorrow, by the way. So.
It's and sometimes it's not always that dramatic as well. I want to say that sometimes it's not that dramatic where, you know, you're in ICU or something. Sometimes it's just like, it's the daily ones that actually annoy me the most. You know, those, like, little pains, whereas it's like every day you're, like, suffering a tiny bit. It's like a sprinkle of pain kind of thing, and that sometimes frustrates me more than being in hospital and have, like, a huge crisis. Where it's just like, oh, I just feel a bit like, you know, your body doesn't feel absolutely correct, and it's hard to, like, explain that to someone else. Where it's just like, can white people get sickle cell?
Interesting question.
White people can actually get sickle cell, because there's this woman who comes to the Sickle Cell meetup, the Sickle Cell Society in London, and she gets there. She used to get stares because she's from Portugal. And like, she's a bit tan, but she's a white person, and she has sickle cell anemia, and it's just, remember, you can inherit it. So I guess if, like, two mixed race people have, I don't know, you can inherit it slowly, and it's from places where the climate is warmer. So obviously those are places where people who are darker skinned from, but Mediterranean people can get it and stuff, and they actually face a lot of, like, disbelief themselves. Like, when she was there, she was like, people don't believe me that I have sickle cell. Obviously they've tested her, she definitely has sickle cell, but it's just like, I did feel sorry for her, because it was just like, we get the stigma because it's a black disease, and then she gets the stigma because it's a black disease. No one believes her that she has sickle cell. Yeah. So they can actually get sickle cell. It's rare because sickle cell comes from places where there's a lot of malaria. Malaria is warmer climates. Warmer climates is people with darker skin tone, because the sun's always shining, and that's just, you know, from history or whatever. So generally, white people don't really have sickle cell, but they can get it if they had it, like, from back in the day, and it's passed along, or they can get it now because it's passed on through your genes. So yeah. Okay, now that I've asked the negative impact of sickle cell, how has sickle cell helped you in your life? How has it positively impacted you?
So one of the things is it makes me very creative. I think like the way I deal with sickle cell actually is like I mean, first of all, I play a lot of games, like that helps me cope, but also creating things helps me cope as well. Like, you know, whether it's writing fiction or drawing, you know, just doing like a lot of creative things. Like I get a lot of like pleasure from that, and of course, as I said, like I'm very reserved. I have a very small circle of friends, and a lot of them don't live close to me as well, so I don't get to see them all the time. So I keep myself occupied and keep myself, you know, more pain free by just you know, like being alone and creating art and things like that, like doing creative things. So it's given me a lot of ambition. I have a lot of things I want to do in my life, so you know, I work towards doing a lot of those things. And I guess well, we kind of said that already, but it helps. Another positive thing is it helps you to help other people. Like I know Annabel does a lot of you know, charity work and stuff for sickle cell, and you know, there's been times where I've kind of like been on radio to spread the word, and I've gone to sickle cell groups, like talk groups and stuff, to talk to like younger people who are going through it. So yeah, it helps you to help other people and you know, spread the word and things like that.
That's good. I think because it's good to sometimes like reflect on how sickle cell has helped. It's always like, oh, sickle cell's taken this for my life, that for my life, why? But sometimes it's also given me this and given me that sort of thing, so that's good. How do we feel about Black people in America? What, as a general question or in relation to sickle cell? Because that's a really broad question. Like in the hoods, I don't know. I'm not sure.
That is a very broad question.
That's a very broad question. I'm not sure how I feel about
that.
Black people in America in the hoods.
I mean, a lot of my actual closest friends are in America too. Like I have close friends over here as well. Like a few of them, probably like less than 10 or something. Like close friends in the UK, but I also have like you know, a lot of people that I consider like real like close friends as well in America. So, and I've got family over there also. So you know, I think Black people in America are very cool, to be honest. Like, you know, I get on with them well. So
I think people in general, it depends, you know, what kind of people. Like, it doesn't matter where they're from. Like, we will be having a walk in Detroit, Michigan for sickle cell. That's really good. That's really good. I think we're going to talk about awareness soon. Baltimore, where it's very dangerous, is really, I don't know. Is Baltimore dangerous? I don't know. I don't know what parts.
Yeah, Baltimore is dangerous.
Really? Yeah, I know that Chicago is supposed to be, I think.
Chicago,
parts of it.
Baltimore, New York, LA, like, you know,
New York is dangerous, okay. Who knew?
Well, I mean, it's being gentrified now, but so it's less dangerous than it used to be, but it used to be like dangerous. So.
You learn something every day. What advice would you give your younger self? Like, looking back now, all the things you've kind of learned about how to deal with sickle cell. Like, if you could give your advice, like, don't do this, do that kind of thing.
That's
you get that.
Hard question. I probably would tell myself to. That is a hard question. I would definitely tell myself, first of all, to try harder in school, even though it was like extra hard for me having to live with sickle cell as well. It would have been great if I could have like took more from school, because it probably would have given me a head start with a lot of things. What else? I probably would have told myself to try harder in certain social situations, because obviously, you know, having a chronic illness can alienate you from a lot of social situations. But I would have probably told myself to trust certain people more, not everyone, but certain people, trust them more and try harder to, you know, maintain that friendship. What else? Like, I don't know, because I'm not like one of those. Is there any
things that like you do now, like for example, like medicine wise, like for example, I drink 4 liters of alkaline water. I wish I'd known that years ago. you know.
Yeah. So
don't take too much medicine.
So certain treatments, I guess I wish I would have known, you know, beforehand, like the alkaline water thing. I probably would have been more militant with, you know, drinking enough water every day kind of thing, like, and just more strict on myself, you know, to do that. But I don't know, I'm not like one of those people who thinks back and is like, oh, I wish I could have did this instead. Like, I just try and focus on now and the future kind of thing.
That's good.
Because, you know, you can't really change much about, you know, what's happened in your life. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I just try to keep moving forward kind of thing. So that's a very hard one for me to answer.
No, it was a hard question. What advice would you give to other people? I think that's better. What advice would you give to other people with sickle cell? Like, what are some of the things that you do maybe? And like things that you should avoid, like pitfalls? Yeah,
so I would definitely try to establish connections with people like you, like people who are other sufferers and things like that. Like, you know, Annabel has been a positive influence for me because, like, you know, seeing her do all these creative things with Melanin Gamers and stuff, it's like, yeah, like, I can do this too. Like, I can, you know, I can do what I want to do. I can meet all my goals and stuff like that. So it's very important to, you know, connect with other sufferers in the community and stuff. And just don't give in to bad influences as well, because a lot of sickle cell sufferers are probably living unhealthy lifestyles because, you know, they want to be like other people.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's another thing. Like, don't think you have to be like other people.
Because
like,
you're not.
It's okay to be. Yeah, it's okay to be unique. It's okay to be different, and that's something I struggled with in the past. Like, because I was trying, like, in high school and you know, stuff like that, I was trying to be like certain people, like the popular kids, and the popular kids were actually like the criminals, basically. Like, so like, you know, I was trying to do certain things.
Criminals. I'm done.
I was trying to do certain things that didn't suit, you know, my lifestyle, having a chronic illness. So don't feel like you have to be like other people to fit in and stuff. Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be you.
That's definitely true.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest one, really.
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me, because sometimes when you have sickle cell, you're just like, even my other siblings. I have 3 other siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister, and it's just, I just want to be like them. I just don't want to be sick. I just want to, like, so if like when like swimming, which I don't, I have to be very careful when I swim. They'd go out to swim, and I was like, I want to go with them. I'd get sick. I did karate for 4 years, and after every single tournament, like clockwork, I got a crisis. Literally, like clockwork, I was like, I need to stop doing this. But my brothers were doing it, and I really wanted to do it as well. And there's some things that I was just like, I want to do this, but I can't. And that's okay to admit that, no, I can't do this thing. You know, and I'm just like, let me find something else I can do. Or let me do this in moderation. But it was just, I just quit karate and I stopped doing all martial arts, when really I could have done something else. That's like a bit more low-key, like, you know, Tai Chi, I think it's called. Things that I could fit to myself, but it was just like, if I can't do this, I'm just like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's just, you get into that spiral where it's like all the things that you can't do, where you should look at the things that you can do. Like, I can game really well, you know, I can do games, I can write, there's other stuff that I can do, you know, and it's just getting to that place of that thinking where I can't do this, but what can I do, kind of thing, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, we did all try to be like other. I think that's just like a growing up thing, and with sickle cell, it's heightened because it's just like physical stuff that you want to do. You know, like when you're a guy, it's just like, oh, you got to be doing these sports and stuff. Actually, I was pushed into a lot of sports because I'm tall. Now I'm tall. Back when I was a child, I was really tiny, but like in sixth form, that, oh, be part of the basketball, because I was like, because I'm tall, and I was like, I want to, but I can't. I did it anyway. I got crisis. I got sick. But really, you should just tell yourself, you can't do these things, and it's okay not to be able to do these things. It's okay if you're feeling tired, and you just need to explain to people, because you get scared that you'll be labelled lazy. Oh, you're not doing it because you're lazy. Oh, you didn't do your homework because you're lazy. Actually, no, I was feeling really unwell. But you don't say that. You just say, oh, I'm sorry. And then you accept the label of lazy, and it's just like something that just gets attached to you. And a lot of people with sickle cell get that a lot, where it's just like, you were just lazy. You're just lazy. Yeah,
and that goes back to the mental health thing, because being told you're lazy all the time, like, that has a negative impact when you know that's not the reason, you know. And yeah, I mean, like, football, like I guess people in America call it soccer, but football is a very big important part of a boy's life and girls
in
too.
London.
In the UK. And, I could never be a part of that. I tried, but, an evening of football for me would probably set me back like a whole week. Like I'd be at home for a whole week trying to recover from it. So, I kind of like stopped playing football. I stopped following the sport and stuff. And that led to me feeling like an outcast because that was literally all people cared about is like football. And, I had no interest in it because I couldn't play. And like it just, after a while, it just stopped interesting me.
Yeah.
So, that further made me feel like an outcast as well. And so, yeah, you have to, it's important that you make the conscious decision to not want to follow everyone and to be your own person to some degree, because there are other ways to get accepted, even if like people think you're weird because you don't play football or whatever, like who cares, keep doing you and eventually you'll fall in the right place, because for me when I got to college, that's when I started to find like other people who played games, like the same types of games I play. They like to do the same sort of like hobbies and pastimes that I do, and that's when I started to feel more like myself when I got around those people. So eventually you will find like a social circle that you truly fit in. It's just, sometimes you just gotta wait it out and be strong, so
Definitely. Okay, I'm gonna read some of the chat because what can't you play? I think Sticky Icky. I think you're talking about marijuana. Okay, there's some people do smoke weed to help, and it's problematic when it comes to that sort of thing, because for some people it actually genuinely works. Like they're sick and tired of taking, like having morphine or having codeine or oral morphine, all of those pain medicines can be a lot on your body, and after a time it's like you become dependent on it. You need a higher dose. So they try to use like alternative things, and I'm in two minds because for some people it genuinely works, and it's I feel like it's a better way. I don't know, what were you saying? What's that oil called?
CBD oil. So one of the things I'm going to try actually is CBD oil, because people have been talking a lot about that and recommending that I try it, because I've had to have a lot of like codeine lately, and I'm worried about the long-term effects of like taking that every day and stuff. So I am going to be trying CBD oil, which is a strand of the marijuana plant. So yeah, like I'm gonna see how that does, and see if it helps the pain and everything. I have, actually been offered weed before, but like I had like some puffs or whatever, but like I don't know if it actually helped like anything. So yeah, like and smoking isn't good anyway. Like overall, ultimately smoking isn't good for you. Like it has other side effects and other things that could be bad for you. So I wouldn't recommend that as like the go-to treatment.
Nor would I, because I've never
sickle
tried
cell.
it.
But
when you're in pain, it's just like you will almost try anything to get rid of it. So I understand why some people do it, because it's just the pain can be like nothing you can imagine at all. Like I can't even when I try to describe it to people, I'm just like times by 1,000. But like just imagine the worst pain that you've ever experienced, like the top 5 worst pains you've ever experienced all together at one time. That's almost close to, like, I've spoken to people who've given birth and stuff, and they're like, nope, sickle cell's worse than that. That was a walk in the park for me. Like, it's always the worst pain that anyone's ever experienced when they have sickle cell anemia. Like, I shattered my wrist, like, different kinds of pains that I've had. Sickle cell's at the top. It's at the top of that list because there's nothing quite like it.
I guess that's another positive as well. It gives you a really high pain threshold. Like
yes, it does.
I can take a lot of knocks and bumps because of like sickle cell. Like so, that's another positive for me. Like I feel like Superman sometimes because like I can just like walk through like
fire and not even like explode. Oh, am I burning? Like actually, that happened to me. I sat on my straighteners and I burnt myself, and it was only for the smell of cooking meat that I got up, and I have a scar now on my bum because I was able to sit down on straighteners for a whole minute. My nails were drying and I was counting to 60 and I was like, what's that smell? It's me, I'm cooking. That's the pain threshold I have because I have sickle cell. So sickle cell is good for like, you can suffer any pain now because I have sickle cell. It's not as bad as sickle cell. Like anything else, like I've fallen on an iron, like literally into my mouth. I fell straight onto an iron.
Wow.
All of that stuff, like it was painful, don't get me wrong, but it's never ever sickle cell. I've broken my rib. Nothing is sickle cell pain. It's just like it's the perfect torture device. If they could weaponize, people would be confessing all over the place. Okay, what advice can you give people who are around kids who have sickle cell, such as? I was actually going to ask that, but advice I would give is just to check on them. Physically, yes. Like, don't like with me, some of my teachers, when they found out I had sickle cell, so okay, I'll tell you a quick story. What happened was I was at PE and I tried to tell my teacher that I couldn't do it because I was tired. He was making us run around the track. And he was like, no, don't be lazy, just do it. And that word lazy, like once someone uses it, I'm just like, okay, I'll do it. You know, so I started running around the track. I had a crisis. They had to like close part of the park down because the ambulance needed to get in. And it was a whole big deal. And like all of our year and the year above were there. And like, so my PE teacher, when I came out of hospital, like 3 weeks later, he was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I did try to tell you, first of all. So then he was like, oh, just sit there. It's okay. You don't have to do anything at all. I know you're sick. And it was like, this was in front of the entire class. He was saying this. I was like, then don't do that. Don't go to like an extreme where you're just like isolating that child with sickle cell. Like, Cotton, like, don't let them do anything. Just like check on them quietly and privately, but don't do that in front of like others where they'll feel like, oh, I feel like really different. They are different, but don't make it so like I don't
feel like a special case.
Yeah,
or something,
and like not in a good way. Like you feel like a special case, but not in a good way at all. Where you don't want to be like, I just want to play outside with the others, but limit their time kind of thing, you know, or like make sure like everyone else comes in, but don't make it that child's fault. Like, oh, because of John, you all have to come in now because he's not feeling well. And it's just like, what? Yeah. Why would you say that? Like, so that's the advice I can give you. Like, treat them differently or quietly. If you're going to treat them differently, do it quietly. Like, don't do it in front of everyone else where you just feel like, you know, no one will want to play with you then. And it's really hard. Yeah. What other questions? What can't we play? I think that was sports-wise. I think it depends. There's an American footballer. I guess that's just, you guys just call it football, but we call it American football. It's like rugby. But and he has Sickle Cell Anemia, and it's like he's the only person who has it. So it depends. That's the thing with sickle cell.
It does vary like person to person. Like some people can do things that
Loads
others can't. You know, it affects people in different ways.
Yeah.
Like especially with the severity of it. But yeah, for a lot of us, because you do get tired more easy, and that overworks your body, you know, the amount you can do is very limited. But I guess, you know, some people are lucky, like that football player. He's able to, you know, live with it and
play such a sport that is like really, really.
Such
but that's just him, as you can see, in the whole world. So you can see that like those are special cases where some people who have sickle cell, they basically don't get affected with the symptoms. They'll just be a bit tired. But other people, it's like they are the worst cases where it's just they really need the cure and they'll take the cure because they're basically dying and they can't deal. And sickle cell is like ruining every single day they're in hospital. So the cases vary from like person to person, you know, like, and even at different stages of your life. Like now, I was in hospital earlier this year, but before then, I hadn't been in hospital for 2 years. So I was 2 years free from hospital admissions. So, but when I was growing up, every few months I was in the hospital, and it was like regular. Like it's knowing. I think part of it is knowing how your body works, like reading your body. Should I be going out with my friends tonight? I'm feeling a little bit sick. I would go out. Because I was like, oh, how? And then I get sick. Okay. Then I learn, actually, no, when I'm feeling like this, I should probably stay in. It's learning your body. It's drinking a lot of water. It's doing all of these things that your body needs. But it's also luck. Because sometimes I can be perfect. I can be absolutely perfect. I can drink 4 liters of water. I can be warm. I can this. I can be that. And I still get a crisis. And it's just like, what can I do to like... But so sometimes it's just your body is sick and it's going to give you a crisis. Whatever you do, you can be absolutely perfect. You can be warm. You can be like, not like, with me, my biggest trigger is stress. So I meditate a lot. And if I'm stressed, that's it. I'm having a crisis. It's literally like stress crisis. Every exam I've taken, I've always had a crisis, like almost a few days after it's all on the day. So I know that stress is my biggest trigger, than the cold and all that stuff. But even when you're really good and like I'm like perfectly fine, I can still get a crisis. So you can do all of those things and it will like maybe lessen, but other people do all those things and still get sick. So you can't say, oh, well, you're not doing that. That's one thing you should never do, is blame someone who has sickle cell for getting a crisis. I will unfriend you for that. That pisses me off so much when people are like, well, it was your fault. Even if it was my fault, sometimes it was my fault. Like, I went swimming, I went rollerblading late into the night. Don't tell me it's my fault whilst I'm sick. Maybe afterwards, when I've recovered, and like, Anna, you have to, think about your life choices. Do you want to be doing this? And then that's fine. But in the middle of a crisis when someone is sick, you're saying, well, this was your fault. You shouldn't have done that. That's just... leave the room.
It's not very helpful at that point.
What were you trying to achieve? Saying that nothing. You just wanted to get that off your chest, and well done to you. Like, so I think like knowing how bad, like knowing your body is one of the major things you could do to help yourself when you have sickle cell. And even like if you're a family of someone who has sickle cell, knowing how their body works and like looking out for like different triggers, that's really, really, really helpful. So yeah. What advice I think we've actually spoken about that. What do you think can be done to spread awareness for sickle cell?
Good question. So I definitely feel like there needs to be, a lot more, there needs to be more campaigns about sickle cell. Like, how I mentioned that mental health is very popular right now. Like, you see it everywhere, people talking about it and stuff. Like, we need that for sickle cell, because it does affect a wide range of people, so I think, we just need to keep having campaigns and events and, things like that to raise awareness. Like, even if we kind of collaborate with, various entertainment events or whatever to help raise awareness. Like, we just need to be more creative with that, I guess, in terms of educating people about it and how it affects people, and how, I think people also need to know, like, because people might think, oh, I don't need to know about sickle cell because, I don't have it. No one I know has it. But, if you're ever in a situation where you work with someone who has sickle cell, or, you get involved romantically with someone with sickle cell, like, it will help you to know a little bit about it, just so,
definitely.
You can...
and in saying that, people also need to get tested too if they have the trait. Because it's like, you like someone, you have the trait. You don't know you have the trait. So, and then they have the trait, and then suddenly you're in a situation and you've gone too far. So I feel like people should get tested like immediately, like before I feel like that should just be something that they routinely offer. Or if you're like a person of color, you should just make sure that if you have the trait, or you could have sickle cell anemia you don't even know, and you're like really lucky, because how did you not know?
there are people like that who don't figure out until like in their 20s or something like that.
It's just like, wow, what's your secrets? But I feel like people getting tested, if you're a person of color, before you're pregnant or something, is really helpful. And just get yourself tested, know that, oh, I have the trait, I have this, and then you can like move forward from there, And I think the more people that get tested, the better it will be, for like reducing how many people have sickle cell anemia. That's another way to, I'm not saying like people who have trait, don't get with anyone who has trait, of course not, but it's, exactly. People just need to just get tested so that they just know, and it's not something that you find out when it's not too late, because obviously you're still gonna have that. I mean, if in fact some people have aborted when they find out their child has sickle cell anemia, and I'm in two minds about when people do that, because I have sickle cell anemia. Was I supposed to be aborted? But it's like, you're bringing a child into the world and you want the best for that child, and it's really hard when you find out all the things with people who have sickle cell anemia. You're like, I don't want to bring a child into that world. So before you even get to that stage, get yourself tested before you're with someone who's like, oh, we need to, just getting yourself tested, I think. And I think more needs to be done about people doing that, It should be more accessible to like, and free as well. It should be free. Like at the Sickle Cell Center when we got together. Oh, see, that's like luck. People just need to be tested, like, just as a general thing. Like how in America they do those where they know their blood type, where they do it in class, where they just find out their blood type. The same thing could be done. And I think obviously more people of color have sickle cell anemia because of where it came from, so they should be offering it to them more often than not as well, to just help spread awareness about sickle cell and what it is as well. What are you? Last question, yay! What are you personally doing to spread awareness for sickle cell?
So, I tried to do as much as I can. I did, I actually wrote a book recently called Descendant of the Elders. And it's a sci-fi fantasy series that I'm writing, but I definitely wanted to inject some of me into the story and make it, somewhat personal.
Yeah.
So the main character has sickle cell. And he's a space marine and everything, and the whole thing is about him falling into a hidden realm, and then he kind of has this adventure where he kind of tracks down this madman who's responsible for everything. But so it's really geared towards people who read sci-fi and fantasy, but I just wanted the main character to also have sickle cell, so I could kind of show people what it would be like to go through these scenarios if you had sickle cell, kind of thing, and the kind of thoughts and feelings that would go through a person's mind in those situations. So I do things like that. I try to raise awareness in everything I do. Like I have a video games website as well. I talk about it there sometimes, and like I said, I've also been on the radio, BBC Radio, to talk about it. I have a blog, at GaryASwaby.com, where
I should be putting these links into the chat.
Yeah, so on my blog, I talk a lot about it. Like, I talk about my experiences having a crisis and things that happened at the hospital. And, I talk about my relationships with sickle cell and, things like that. So, talk about a lot of personal experiences with sickle cell, and I actually get a lot of responses from that. Like, people send me messages through my website and stuff, telling me how reading the article has helped them understand someone else, or how like reading it has helped them see that other people are going through the same things. So yeah, like, I try to do things like that. I feel like I need to do more tangible things, like like what Annabel was doing with baking cakes and
I do some bake sales
and,
sometimes to raise money for sickle cell. It's never enough, but I think talking about it, I personally think talking about something is the surest way to get everyone to know about it. You're not going to know about something unless you talk about it. So that's the first step, I think. So what you're doing is good, is talking about it, and it's the most important as well. Just talking about it, letting other people know about it, and just, but not in a way that you're like lecturing them, because no one wants to be lectured. Exactly. In a way that's like different, even with like the story that I'm trying to put a link into, because I'm so slow. But what was your website, so I can put it into the chat?
Yeah, it's GaryASwaby.com.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so that's my personal blog. I write a lot about sickle cell on there, as well as other things. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's not always about having sickle. I think like this obviously it's Sickle Cell September. We want to raise awareness, but it's also about how sickle cell has affected our lives, how it's shaped it as well. So thank you so much for sharing your stories.
No problem. Good to be here.
And I just I will be putting this whole thing on YouTube, on Melanin Gamers YouTube, so everyone who hasn't been here can have a look at it again. And just people, please spread awareness about sickle cell, what sickle cell is, and find out. And the most important thing is also getting tested and stuff, and knowing that if you have the trait, I'm going to stream as much as the walks as I can. Yes, please, we would love to check that out.
Good idea.
If you guys are doing anything for Sickle Cell September, please let us know, and we will definitely be shouting it out. And we're going to be doing more things. We're going to be streaming games, because obviously we are still Melanin Gamers. We are gamers, but we are also about causes and stuff, and good causes. So thank you guys for watching, and it was lovely. Thank you, Gary, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate
See you guys
it.
later.
Bye.
Okay, there you go. Okay, that's